the physical things of how this has happened, how this conflict, this hatred has come about. From the beginning of time, when Adam and Eve sinned, they were thrown out of the garden. Men multiplied. And God began to deal with men. Genesis, Abraham. Yun ang pinimula ng Genesis natin. Alam ninyo si Abraham, the father of many nations, isn't it? And we are also the children, progeny of Abraham by faith. We are the true inheritor of the blessings of our father Abraham by faith. Not by biological or physical, but by faith. But I'll tell you first, before we came by faith, Abraham had two sons. First of all, he had two sons with two different mothers. Ang isa kay Hagar, ang isa naman kay Sarah. So, let's begin the story. You want? Okay. For approximately 3,800 years, nyo katagal-tagal na, no? 3,800 years. Kaya yung hatred hindi namamatay. Kahit ilang libong taon pa, ang hatred hindi namamatay. Hatred is a spirit. It doesn't die. In fact, it multiplies. For approximately 3,800 years, a never-ending enmity has been sustained. First between the descendants of Isaac and Ishmael, and later by the rift created by Isaac's children, Esau and Jacob. Bisaya, unsa man ang Esau? Kamong palakaon og Esau diha. So, Isaac has two children, the same mother, Esau and Jacob. But there's another son of Abraham from Hagar. His name is Ishmael. Ishmael and Esau became the fathers of the Arab and Islamic worlds, while Isaac and Jacob became the fathers of the Israelite and the Hebraic world, later called citizens of Judea or Jews. Let's go to Esau and Jacob. In the biblical recounting of the story of Esau and Jacob, Jacob succeeds in wresting the birthright, for example, the material inheritance of his family from Esau, who exchanged it for a bowl of porridge. Otherwise, Jacob succeeds in stealing the blessing, for example, the spiritual transmission, when he impersonates Esau before the blind Isaac, who colludes in giving the spiritual secrets away to Jacob. You know, in the olden times, the father has all the blessings for all his children. Kung anong sinabi ng tatay na matutupad. So, Esau, being the firstborn, supposed to be the inheritor of the blessings from Abraham. But Jacob knew that. So, when Esau, who was a hunter, was so hungry, went home, and Jacob was, making porridge. Porridge sa atin ngayon yung hindi yung arroz caldo, yung isa pa. Champurado. Oh. For a bowl of champurado, he sold his birthright. Sabi niya, what is that birthright to me? I'm so hungry. It's yours. So he got the birthright by one bowl of porridge, no? Isang bowl ng champurado. So, ang birthright nasa kanya na ngayon. Then, to steal the blessings of the birthright, he deceived his father Jacob. because he took the skin of the animals. Esau was mabalahibo, very hairy man. He took the skin of the animals that sometimes they hunted and put it on his arms. He came near and he thought it was Esau. So he gave him not only the birthright, but the blessings of the birthright. See? So these are the offenses. The unfair exchange of goods concerning conning the father, daddy, and pilfering from his older brother have never been forgiven by Esau's descendants. Hindi siya mapatawad ngayon kasi niloko niya tatay niya. Okay. Likewise, they have not forgiven Sarah for getting rid of her stepson Ishmael in favor of her biological offspring. This latter story is not as clear-cut as Ishmael exhibited a serious character flaw, as we shall see later. After striking out on 2 counts, Esau leaves the community with God's promise, becomes the master of a large landmass in the country of Edom. Ang Edom ngayon, yan ang Syria, Iraq. Papangalanan ko mamaya. Okay? Many years later, Jacob, fleeing from his father-in-law, Laban, must cross Esau's land to return to his own homeland. Ngayon, babalik siya sa kanyang sariling pag-aaring homeland niya, dadaan siya ngayon sa lupa ni Esau. Okay? Jacob's beloved wife Rachel has stolen valuable icons from Laban, who is now coming after them to retrieve the idols. Siya idol worshiper si Laban eh. Si Abraham din noon. Jacob sends Esau. Ngayon, si Jacob natatakot siya kasi papatayin man siya. Jacob sends Esau a large trove of valuable goods, hoping they will appease his brother, whom he reckons is still holding an accounts receivable against him. The hopes, the gifts, will mellow Esau to permit Jacob and his family to pass through. Esau allows Jacob to go unabatedly on his way without incident. Kasi binigyan siya ng, mahilig talaga ito si Esau sa bribe. He was bribed again so that he could pass through. In essence, Jacob's gifts are an offering and gesture to restore the birthright. Without saying these things, pagpasauli niya, pagbigay niya ng mga material goods na yun sa kanya, ay ibig sabihin, sige, sinasauli ko na yung birthright ko sa iyo. Pero hindi ko, bribe lang. There is no mention of Esau demanding back the blessing. Material goods serve to be sufficient. Tama na to, birthright ko, nagbalik na sa akin. He gave Jacob his blessing to cross through. Fast forward to our current day, the Arabs and Jews are still at it. The Arabs want a restored birthright. They are not demanding the Jews' blessings, their spiritual heritage, the Torah, but are contented with the Quran. Taking the Esau-Jacob story as a model, since the Torah speaks to all situations for all times, let Jacob restore the goods, a birthright portion of land to the Arabs in return for their blessing, too for Israel, namely acknowledging and affirming Israel's right to exist, given both orally and in writing, eliminating the paragraph from their constitution calling for Israel's extinction and teaching their children to live in peace with Israel. You see, Israel already made overture to the Palestinians who are descendants of Edom, of Esau. Many overtures already. Okay, we'll give you this, from the time of Yitzhak Rabin to Olmert, to the prime ministers that they were offered statehood. We'll offer you the Temple Mount even, in Jerusalem and everything. They did not accept that. They want everything that the Jews have, which is Israel today. Finally, we have the possibility to bring closure to this 3,800-year-old feud. In spiritual terms, time is not a determinant of the truth of any event. It doesn't matter when the situation emerged or how long it has lasted. There is no time lapse. It is what it is and must be resolved. Justice must be served. Jacob has to do his part as he did, and Esau must do his part as he did by not going to war against his brother. Nagkasundo na sila doon, di ba? Kaya kailangan patuloy na magkasundo sila. Each party has a responsibility to bear the message of how to do it. It has been made loud and clear in this ancient, contemporary, timeless story. Let's go to Ishmael and Isaac. Ishmael and Isaac are half-brothers, both sired by Abraham. Ishmael hopes that by the laws of inheritance governing the Judeo-Islamic world, that he as a firstborn will receive the lion's share of the birthright, material goods, passed on by his father Abraham. However, he displays a seriously disturbing character of mocking his younger brother, whom he feared would displace him in his father's eyes. His disparaging of Isaac did not go unnoticed by Sarah, the mother of Isaac, Isaac's mother, who viewed this trait as a sign of jealousy, as dangerous. Jealousy is the genesis of murder. So as a prophetess in her own right, Sarah understood and acted to protect Isaac. How did he protect Isaac? Pinalayas niya si Hagar. Lumayas si Hagar kasi poprotektahan niya si Isaac kasi nagselos na si Ishmael kay Jacob. So, ngayon, balik tayo. Are Ishmael and Isaac both heirs of Abraham? In Genesis 12, God chose Abram as the progenitor of a nation of people for the purpose of blessing all other nations. Genesis 12, 1-3. Now the Lord had said unto Abram, Get thee out of the country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee. And I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee, and in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed. The problem was that Abram's wife, Sarah, was barren. She had no child in Genesis chapter 11, verse 30. How would God's promise be fulfilled? Genesis 15, 3-6. Verse 3, And Abram said, Behold, to me thou hast given no seed, and lo, one born in my house is mine heir. And behold, the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, This shall not be thine heir, but he that shall come forth out of thy own bowels shall be thine heir. And he brought him forth abroad and said, Look now toward heaven, and tell the stars, if thou be able to number them. And he said unto him, So shall thy seed be. And he believed in the Lord, and he counted it to him for righteousness. Sarai took it on herself to take her handmaid, Hagar, as a surrogate, so Abraham could produce his heir. Kailangan galing talaga kay Abraham ang kanilang tagapagmana. Genesis 16:15. And Hagar bare Abram a son, and Abram called his son's name which Hagar bare Ishmael. In Genesis 17, God makes it clear that it will be another son, born by Sarah, this time that will become the focus of God's plan instead of Ishmael. Because Ishmael is only the son of bondwoman or a maid. So, si Sarah ang tunay na asawa, binigyan din siya ng anak. So to Abraham, Genesis 17:4-6, as for me, he said, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations. Neither shall thy name anymore be called Abram, but thy name shall be Abraham, for a father of many nations have I made thee. And I will make thee exceeding fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. To Sarah, Genesis 17:15-16, and God said unto Abraham, as for Sarai thy wife, thou shalt not call her name Sarai, but Sarah shall her name be. And I will bless her, and give thee a son also of her. Yea, I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. Kings of people shall be of her. Now what happens now to Ishmael? God still pronounces blessings to Ishmael, but he is not the child of the promise. Kuwalin nyo? 17:20 of Genesis. And as for Ishmael, I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed him, and will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation. May promise din ng Ama kay Ishmael, yung Arab nations ngayon. 12 princes shall come of thee. Ishmael will also be a nation, because he is Abraham's offspring. Genesis 21:13. And also of the son of the bondwoman will I make a nation, because he is thy seed. Let us look at the chart and look at the offspring of Ishmael. There's Abraham. Another wife is Hagar on the green, and Sarah on the red. Sarah bore Isaac, and Isaac bore Jacob and Esau. Esau is the father of the Edomites because of the land of Edom. Genesis 23:30. And the 12 tribes of Israel, we call it Judaism, in Genesis 4:9-1-23. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Issachar, Zebulun, Aser, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Judah, Joseph, Benjamin, and out of that came Jesus Christ, and out of that came Christianity, and out of that came the Son of God, appointed Son. Hagar, Ishmael, 12 princes of Ishmael, Genesis 25:12-18, 12-16. O ito na yung mga anak ni 12 princes of the tribes of Ishmael. Nebayot, Shetur, Abdil, Mibsam, Misma, Duma, Masa, Hadar, Tema, Kedar, Napis, and Kedema. Out of that came the Prophet Muhammad. And out of Prophet Muhammad came the Islam religion, which is what we have today. Did you get it? This was also the assured to Hagar after being banished by Sarah in Abraham's household. Genesis 21:18. Arise, lift up the lad, and hold him in thine hand, for I will make him a great nation. That's why the Arabs, great nation, di ba? Who is the rightful heir between the two? Abraham's two sons, Ishmael born to Hagar and Isaac born to Sarah, are both legitimately claiming to be Abraham's firstborn through their mothers. Puro man sila panganay. Ang isa lang, ang diferensya is panganay sa maid. Ang isa panganay sa tinuod na asawa. Mao na yung diferensya. Pero puro panganay. Isa man rin nga inahan nga puro panganay. Maldito ng amahana. puro panganay ang anak. Romans 9:7 to 8 is clear. Neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children, but in Isaac shall thy seed be called. They which are children of the flesh, these are not the children of God, but the children of the promise are counted for the seed. It means that while Abraham had many physical descendants, the promises that the Father made to Abraham were realized only through Isaac. Masakit yun. Pero yon ang katotohanan. At ngayon, the birthright is still with Isaac, but there is also a blessing to Ishmael. It was an angel sent by God to give him all of this blessing. Now, in the present generation, who will qualify as Abraham's seed? We will see that later on. Okay? In a spiritual household, the Son is commissioned by the Father to establish His kingdom here on earth. It is a spiritual family composed of sons and daughters who are truly repentant and freed from the serpent seed. Everything that we see in the kingdom is doing the Almighty Father's will. Psalms 127, 1, except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it. Except the Lord keep the city, the watchman waketh up in vain. Hebrews chapter 3 verse 4, for every household is builded by some man, but he that built all things is God. However, where do we go from these two? Where are we in the spiritual drama and history of the salvation works of the Father Almighty? Who are we today? We know who is Ishmael and his descendants. We know who is Isaac and his descendants. Who are we today? Are we also descendants of Abraham? Let us see. Just as the Almighty Father had a covenant with Abraham, his spiritual descendants must follow the covenant of circumcision. However, when you enter into the new covenant, circumcision is of the Spirit. We are now moving out of the flesh family of Abraham, which is Ishmael and Isaac. We are now moving into the spiritual family of Abraham. We also have a circumcision here, but not physical. Circumcision is of the heart. When you repent, you are circumcised by the heart, because out of the heart came all filthiness of the flesh. Circumcision is of the Spirit. Everything that is filthy or unclean in the sight of the Almighty Father must be removed. Circumcision in the Old Covenant is physical. Genesis 17:10 to 11. This is my covenant which ye shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee. Every man-child among you shall be circumcised. Because if they will remain physical, kamo mga dili-tuli, wala mo. Dagang ilonggo di kasunod. And you shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be token of the covenant betwixt me and you. Circumcision in the new covenant. This is us now. Romans 2:28 to 29. For he is not a Jew which is one outwardly, neither is that circumcision which is outward in the flesh, but he is a Jew which is one inwardly, and circumcision is that of the heart in the spirit, and not in the letter, whose praise is not of men but of God. Deuteronomy 10:16, circumcise therefore the foreskin of your heart, and be no more stiff-necked. Jeremiah chapter 4 verse 4, circumcise yourselves to the Lord, and take away the foreskins of your heart, you men of Judah and inhabitants of Jerusalem, lest my fury come forth like fire and burn that none can quench it because of the evil of your doing. So, everything in the Old Testament that is being done physically is just a shadow of the things to come, which is the reality of the spiritual component that was not received by the sons of Abraham, both by Ishmael and also the Jewish nation, whom, when Jesus Christ came, He went first to the descendants of Isaac, Jacob, who became Israel. Instead of them receiving the spiritual component of that, they did not understand it. They stuck with the Torah, which is just a shadow of the things to come. And Jesus Christ brought the fulfillment of that. They did not receive it. Instead, they hung him on the cross. Instead, they killed him and chased all the prophets that were sent before him. Now, he went into a people which are not his people. He went into a nation which is not his nation. And where they are not called the sons of God, they will be called sons of God. Where they were not called his sons, they will be called sons of God. That's in Romans. Can you read that?
9 verse 24-26, even us, whom he hath called, not of the Jews only, but also of the Gentiles. 25, as he saith also in OC, I will call them my people, which were not my people.
My people which are not my people. Tayo leon.
Beloved, which was not beloved.
Oh. And us, beloved, which is not the beloved.
26, and it shall come to pass, that in the place where it was said unto them, Ye are not my people, there shall they be called the children of the living God.
Oh, we are not his people, physically, but here we will be called the children of God. That is where we come in. Doon tayo pumapasok. Woo!